very, very comfortable with their allies that are constantly giving them the aid they need in order to cushion the effect of the sanctions.
Thanks so much, Dr. Godson. Well, we'll just go on a very short break, and when we come back, we are going to be looking at the military strengths and weaknesses of both Russia and Ukraine, and of course, the possibility to a ceasefire. We'll go on a short break, and we'll be right back. Welcome back if you are just joining us. This is International Tidbit on Atlantic Television Network, and on today's special interview we are looking at the Russia-Ukraine war, scope and consistency of the support. We are looking at the military strengths and weaknesses of warring countries, and also humanitarian aid and all of that. And we have an international affairs analyst, Dr. Godson Kelechi. Thank you once again, sir, for being with us.
Thank you so much.
Okay, now I said we're going to look at the military strengths and weaknesses of both parties, because I mean, after the rumors and maybe confirmation of the death of Prigozhin, who was the Wagner boss, most people assume, well, the strength of Russia is gone, and so how can Russia cope in all of this? And we know that, of course, Ukraine is getting so much support from allied nations, the EU, the NATO, and of course, specifically US. So what are the strengths and weaknesses of the military of both Ukraine and Russia?
Yeah, for Ukraine, initially, Russia thought that Ukraine is not capable of resisting their military power. But it took them it became a surprise to them that Ukraine could withstand them. Because, you know, the military power of nations are not made public. Various countries, different countries, the military strength is one of their secret points that they don't disclose to the public. So in terms of this military strength of Ukraine, I think they have a formidable force, and they have the military equipment that they also manufacture. In fact, before the war, Russia patronizes them in some of the military equipments that are being produced in Ukraine. So, in addition, America also have donated or provided heavy military wares to Ukraine. UK has also done a similar thing. And other countries that are in solidarity to Ukraine have also, one way or the other, provided military intelligence, military trainings, and military wares to support Ukraine. All of these articulated efforts that are made from these various countries have constituted a very strong, formidable military force for Ukraine. So Ukraine has, in fact, grown or developed to a point that with all of this support, external support, in addition to what they have, they are not, they cannot be underrated, because all of these combined together have strengthened them militarily. So they are strong, and that's why they have resisted Russia to this extent for a year now. On the other aspect, Russia, being who they are, have also stocked, in fact they have a stockpile of armories and weapons which they have been hungry to use. That's why they could be able to invade Ukraine, because they felt that they have the military power and strength. One, based on the number of soldiers, the country, Russia itself, is a very mass and large country, that they have the military force. Talking about the military personnel, they have also military gadgets, weapons, tanks, aircraft, military aircrafts. They have them in abundance. So the invasion showcased that Russia have that superpower in terms of military. So they are a strong force. And we also hear they have the nukes and all of those chemical weapons and all that. So they are also strong militarily. But the question is that no one or no country should be underrated or underestimated, because anything that has to do with international war, the individual countries will not be left alone. So there must be that affiliation, military support that will come from external countries. So and that is what has constituted the military power of both sides and the strength of both sides. And none of the side is trying to play weakness or be weak for the other to take or have advantage over others. That's why if you hear Ukraine now is beginning to attack Russian territory, which they never did before. But I think it was a strategy they adopted after Russia had invaded with all their drones and all the weapons. Ukraine was busy studying and having intelligence report and training. And now they are the ones doing it in Russia through their drones. So both sides, they have that military strength. I don't see Ukraine being stronger than Russia. Neither do I also see Russia being stronger than Ukraine. So it is at a point where we cannot be able to ascertain. Yes, we know that Russia is a superpower. They have those nuclear weapons. Ukraine may not have or does not have. But in all of this, all these countries that are aiding, providing funds for Ukraine, like America particularly, they have vowed that they will not stop. So their strength attached to Ukraine's strength and UK's strength combines the Ukrainian military power, and that is something similar to Russia. So all of this, for a ceasefire to actually take place, there is need for the United Nations, NATO, to constitute a very strong meeting that will bring all the interest group or countries that in one way or the other have supported in the war. There should be a convention where all of these people should come together, and they should ask themselves what questions. They should evaluate and assess all the losses that has taken place. Then they should weigh it on the humanitarian crisis that has generated. And because these issues now, there are no clarity in terms of the humanitarian problems that are both sides of the countries. People are dying. In fact, they say the rate of soldiers dying is in the alarming side. So it's on the alarming side, and they need to evaluate and see what benefits have they got. Those have been come for them. I think is enough. They should see how they can put this war to an end. They have made enough whatever money or whatever sales of tankers and aircraft, air fighters, jet fighters. They have sold enough. They have destroyed enough. So they should consider the humanitarian aspect of this war. Ukraine has been totally devastated. The level of destruction in Ukraine is something that is very, very, heartbreaking. And Russia also, the impact is also beginning to also come up. So I think all of these groups, UN, NATO, please, they need to be, very, 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 very straightforward and see how they can call these warring parties or countries to a meeting. UN can do that. NATO, whatever grievances, United, what's it called, the European Union, and all of those countries that have hand in this war should stop. They should ensure that they bring this war to an end. There should be a permanent ceasefire. Enough of the...
Thank you very much. I like the fact that you had to delve into the humanitarian crisis because it's a major concern.
Yeah.
And looking at the fact that some of these nations and unions are sending humanitarian aid to, especially Ukraine, in the face of all of this, and most people believe that the media is not really giving us as much devastation that has been caused in these areas. Do you think that those humanitarian aids are enough to meet the humanitarian needs of the people?
Yeah, we hear about the humanitarian aids from the United Nations, and I would say that we usually get some video clips and pictures of some of the aid workers and the aids, humanitarian aids materials that are provided to those who are affected in the war. There is nowhere, I think there's no time that those humanitarian materials for those has been ongoing, but it cannot equate to the humanitarian crisis.
In essence, there's so much need for a ceasefire.
There is need for a ceasefire.
But before we look at the possibility of a ceasefire, we know that Ukraine, Poland, and Lithuania have signed an agreement. Since Russia pulled out of the Black Sea deal, Ukraine has seemed to have been stopped with their grains and all of that. But they have signed this agreement. You think that is going to lift the burden of Ukraine a bit?
Yeah, the grain pact they signed actually is to begin to revive that grain trade, inter-grain trade in the countries that have had this, like a wake-up call to the economy of Ukraine. Because if the grains are being exported to those countries, I think it will also create that revenue for Ukraine. Because since the war, there has not been much transactions in terms of international trades. So and Ukraine has been a major grain producer. So if this grain pact is allowed to continue, it will begin to raise hope for Ukraine. It will begin to revive Ukraine. To begin to, not just Ukraine alone, but all those countries that have suffered the non-availability of the grains as a result of the impact of the war. So those countries are going to begin to have some, let me say, sufficiency in terms of the uh, grains, not to buy from the non-availability of this grain. So it's a good development in this war.
Oh, good, because it's also going to help the Ukrainian
Yes.
economy. But now, I said before that you kept mentioning that there are those who are benefiting from this war. But let's look at that right now in the light of the possibility of a ceasefire, because just like you rightly said earlier, there are a whole lot of humanitarian concerns. And of course, both economies are getting devastated, even though we do not get as much devastation as going on right now. So, who okay, let me ask who are this benefited. But what do you think are the benefits that these people are getting, and what is the possibility of a ceasefire? What do these nations, these organizations, the EU, the NATO, the UN have to do so we can enhance ceasefire?
Okay, like I earlier mentioned, that there are countries and corporate organizations that are benefiting. There are military mercenaries also that are benefiting. There are military companies that's individually owned or owned by certain big merchants in these countries, US, UK, and all the rest. They have been involved in researching for more devastating weapons, guns, tankers, and that will enable countries to win wars. I know research is a daily thing, and the ammunitions that were made many years ago are seen to be obsolete today. And most of these countries that are engaged in producing of these arms, they have been producing and stockpiling, and to them they felt that they've had enough stock. And so who are the buyers? The common people will not buy all of those volumes of guns. Those countries where gun is allowed, the law did not prohibit the possession of arms. Not all of them. They will not be able to buy all those arms or guns. So these companies, military companies who produces these ammunitions, would want a market where they will sell, just like every other product is being consumed. So they want consumers, people who buy them. And once it is produced in mass like that, and nobody is buying them, they will be feeling their funds or their money is being tight. So they want war so that they can sell. So they sell as the more they sell, the more they are still producing. Because as the war is going on, the people are still producing because their stock will be getting down. And so for them to keep earning more money, the more they produce. So they are benefiting. In US, in fact, US themselves particularly, they are the major country that is benefiting from this war, despite their interest in Ukraine. But for them to use the various munitions, aircrafts, and all of those military tankers, they are test running it also. They are also selling it. You know, this thing they are doing to Ukraine in providing the aids and all those military support, I don't think it's for free. It's not for free. There is a pact they must have signed with Ukraine. Peradventure the war ends, Ukraine to pay back those things, they are going to pay back, because they are going to pay back whatever fund they have received. One way or the other, they will have to pay back. America may come to take it in terms of the resources in the Ukraine. That's the mineral resources or whatever they have. Like there are crude oils and all of those things. So America will benefit, and which they are also benefiting because they are selling their weapons. They are selling. Iran is selling to Russia, and Iran is also benefiting. China is also selling to Russia. China is benefiting. North Korea, who are majors in ammunition, are also benefiting because they are selling. Is the market is an open, is a military market where people sell their products. So they are all benefiting. They want the war to persist, to continue, to keep escalating. But for a ceasefire, I want to say that United Nations should assemble all of these parties and countries and call the leaders in these countries to stop all those military mercenaries. Enough with the supplies. Enough with the supplies. If they can stem or stop the supplies from both sides, then the warring nation are not getting continuous supplies from these countries. Then the war will begin to shrink and begin to end. But you see, America said they will not stop. They will keep providing the fund. So because they are heavily getting some benefits, which they think is good for them. But to me, in my own opinion, America should cancel that thought. They should look for a way to stop this war. They are the police of the world, as we used to say. They are the ones. If America, but there will be traces, there will be evidences that will be showing that yes, Russia is retreating and Ukraine is also retreating. So all those countries and corporate bodies that have been benefiting should begin their self-interest, selfish interest.
I mean, maybe they have benefited enough.
They have enough, but you know, there is no level of income one will get or countries will get that will say they are satisfied with that. So
it's really unfortunate, at least for the sake of humanity, for the sake of those who are going through dire situations right now in both Russia and Ukraine. I also think that it is good that countries that are funding these nations with weaponry should do us good and put an end to it. But this is much we will take on this interview. Thank you so much, Dr. Cotton.
Thank you, it's a pleasure.
And thank you, our viewers, for being out there. Well, look forward to UN's intervention in this conflict between Russia and Ukraine. I am Anita Obar. If you missed anything, you can follow us on our social media platforms, Twitter, Atlantic TV Net, Facebook and YouTube at Atlantic Television Network, Instagram and TikTok at Atlantic TV Network 1. Do remember that peace and unity are the batteries to progress.